Hello and good day. In Algebra, we'll be going over the answers to CO15, solving a multi-step inequality, and then hopefully, maybe get a CO16 by the end, but we'll see what happens. So your job for homework was to finish the two on this first section. We did not do together. I believe they were the two on the right side. Is that accurate? 8 and then 3n minus 4. We didn't do that together? I don't think we did. We're just going to do it. Okay. So like we talked about, if you're getting caught up in how to solve these multi-step inequalities, they really are exactly the same as multi-step equations. So back in PO10, until you get down to that final step of dividing by the coefficient to decide whether or not your inequality symbol flips, and then graphing it. Okay. So if this were an equal sign, and we see the parentheses, what are we going to do? What's our first step? Distribute. Okay? So into the parentheses goes our 8. We're going to multiply 24n. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32, and that is greater than or equal to negative 80. Okay? And we're going to treat this two-step inequality the same way we would treat a two-step equation. Start with our constants, use opposite operations to move it over, add 32 to both sides. That gives us 24n is greater than or equal to negative 48. And now it's in this step that we finally actually care it's an inequality, because there's the potential for our symbol to flip if we multiply or divide by a negative number, right? Now, in this case, is that going to happen? No, because we're dividing by a positive 24, and that's going to give us n is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, even though that 48's negative, the sign didn't change, right? It's still a negative value, negative 2. Then you need to graph it, and that should be a closed circle at negative 2 going to the right. Okay. Questions on that one? Okay. The one below it is a combining like terms type situation. Yes. We did that one. So which other one? Or did we?
7 plus 5. We didn't do the first one, yeah.
We didn't do the first one?
No.
Really? Oh, I thought we did. Okay. Anyway, so the first one then, 7n plus 5 is less than 2n minus 7. If that were an equation, you recognize that we've got variables on both sides, and the process we would use to solve that is the same thing that we're going to be doing here. We want to get all of our n's on the same side. And actually there is, normally when we covered PO10, I said it doesn't really matter which side you move the n's to. In this case, it ultimately doesn't matter, but one way makes our process a lot easier than the other. What did you decide to do? That would probably be the more efficient way to do this, Peter?
Move the smaller value to the larger value?
Yeah, it will behoove you to move our two n's to the left to get 5n plus 5 is less than negative 7. Why is that the smart play here, rather than moving those 7n's over to the right? Why is, given that's an inequality, why is it the smart play? Will?
If you moved it to the 7n to the right, it'd be negative 5n.
Yeah, two things happen if we move our 7n's to the right. First of all, we get a negative coefficient, which means that we will need to flip our inequality symbol later on. Just one more thing to think about. And it moves our variable to the right side, which is okay because in CO13, we learned how to write an inequality two ways, one with the variable on the left and one with the variable on the right, but it's typically just easier if our variable is on the left side. So if you did move your 7n's over, you will get the same answer when all is said and done, but it's a few more things just to keep track of. Anyway, now we'll be subtracting 5 from both sides. That gives us 5n is less than negative 12. We see this is not going to work out evenly. That's okay. We were just going to write this as negative 12 fifths. Leave it in fraction form. If you went decimal, that's fine. If you went mixed number, that's fine. But leaving it as an improper fraction is okay too. We don't flip our sign because we're dividing by positive 5. Our graph, I gotta leave myself some more room here, I think. Negative 12 fifths, open circle, going left. Okay? Questions on that one? Very well. The special situation section down at the bottom. What did you come up with for that last one there? That 3 times 4n plus 6 is greater than 12n minus 19. Joey? No solution. Why? For the last one, yeah, because we did the first two together in class. All solutions. Oh, why?
It's greater than 12 and minus 19.
You said 12n plus 6?
No, I meant 12 and plus 19. I mean 18.
18, yeah. When we distribute in the 3, we get 12n plus 18 is greater than 12n minus 19. And remember, what tells us it's one of those special types is the fact that we have the same number of n's on both sides, right? 12 and 12. It's very important that you're paying attention that you do indeed have the same number of n's on both sides. Walking around, if those of you that did the 6th one on the second page, there are a few errors there, and I wasn't trolling you, but I was trying to see if you were paying attention there. You must have the exact same number of n's on both sides. We do here, so you can cancel them out, and that gives us 18 is greater than negative 19. Make sure you bring the sign of that 19 down, okay? Which is true. Therefore, it's all real solutions. Any number that you plug into there is going to make it work. Okay? Questions on that one? All right. Second page. Ooh, I'm going to clear the ink. Scroll down. Okay. These 6. Raise your hand, just by show of hands, if you did the first one here. Just to see how many. About a third of you. Oh, all right. So the first step for this one, make sure you're distributing in that negative 2. The sign belongs to it. If you subtracted 18 and 2 to get 16, then that was breaking the order of operations, right? We have to take care of those parentheses first. That 18 is just going to kind of chill until we're ready to use it. So negative 2 times negative 7n is a positive 14. Negative 2 times positive 3 is a negative 6. And that is less than negative 2. So first step, distribute negative 2 into your parentheses. Okay. Second step, we're going to combine like terms, our two constants, 18 and a negative 6. Because they're on the same side, we don't use opposite operations here, right? We just subtract 18 and 6, and we get 12 plus 14n is less than negative 2. And now here we have a two-step. Start with our constant, subtract 12 from both sides. 14n is less than negative 14. Divide both sides by 14, don't have to flip our sign. And we get n is less than negative 1. As a graph, open circle, going left. Okay? Raise your hand if you did, or any questions on this one? Check your signs in the first step. Probably, if you did make a mistake, it was with your signs there. Okay, so just double check those. Raise your hand if you did the second one, the one across from that, the 5n plus 3. Ooh, again, about a third of you. All right. So for this one, we have to distribute twice. Bold move, taking on the one with two sets of parentheses. But we get 5n plus 15 is greater than negative 2n plus 92. Make sure you've got a positive 92 there, not a negative 92. Variables on both sides. It's going to make our lives easier if we move our negative 2n's over to the left side. Keep that coefficient positive. So we have 7n is greater than 77 after we move our 15 over to the right. Subtract 15 from both sides, and we get 7n is greater than 77. Divide both sides by 7, and n is greater than 11 is our solution, which is an open circle at 11, going right. Thumbs up? Good? All right. If not, questions? Yes?
So you wouldn't flip it because you multiplied by negative 2?
Right. So are you talking about when we distribute, we wouldn't flip our sign there?
Yeah.
Correct. And the reason why is because we are not, we're not doing that to get n by itself. We aren't moving that -2 to the other side. Really, the only step that you look for the flipping is when you get down that final step of dividing by a coefficient. If that coefficient's negative, then you're going to flip. Anything that you do above that isn't really going to matter. Okay? Good question. Because you are multiplying by a -2 there, right? Which follows the rule, but we're not moving it to the other side. Okay? Anything else with this one? Okay. Raise your hand if you did the first one in the second row. Another double distribution. Okay? So for this one, distribute in that -4, and we get -24n plus 32, and that's less than 8 times -3, -24n plus 8. Uh-oh. Is -24n's the same as -24n's? Yes. So in this case, they will cancel out, and we're left with 32 is less than or equal to 8. Not true. Therefore, no solution. Okay? Raise your hand if you did, yes.
How would you check that one? Because at the top it says...
Right, yeah. So checking answers for no solution and all solution are kind of difficult because, I mean, anything you plug in is not going to work. There's not going to be this does work, this doesn't work type of thing. So to check this, I would just go back and redistribute just to make sure that you do the math correctly. Because really, yeah, those are a little bit harder. Okay. Other questions on that one? That came up yesterday too in the 8th grade class. So thank you for asking. Okay. Raise your hand if you did the next one. The divide by 6. Okay. So for this one, we talked about unfractionalizing. Made up word here, okay? And this one's kind of nice in the sense that when you multiply by 6, yesterday we had to do this whole distribution thing on the other side. Here we don't have to because there's only one term here, 4 times 6. And so this is going to end up being greater than 24. And we don't have to distribute on the left side either because the whole point of multiplying by 6 was solely to cancel out the denominator of that fraction. So we're left with just 2n plus 10. It's actually a pretty easy transition to a two-step inequality here. We don't distribute on the left because we just canceled out that 6 from the denominator, and we don't distribute on the right because there's only one thing to multiply 6 by. So 2n plus 10 is greater than 24. Subtract 10 from both sides. We get 2n is greater than 14. Divide by 2. N is greater than 7. Which is an open circle at 7 going to the right. Okay? Questions on that one? Yes?
Why wouldn't you start by subtracting 10?
Okay, good, very good question. Why wouldn't you start by subtracting 10? So fractions, they're interesting, okay? In that, can I erase this work, or does anyone still need it? Okay. Remember that fractions are another way to write division. Okay, if I were to write this division horizontally, and I wrote 2n plus 10 divided by 6, is that the same thing as what the fraction tells us to do? Gino? No. What does the fraction say? Go ahead, Gino. You're dividing the sum of 2n plus 10 by 6. When written as a fraction, it's as if there are parentheses around here, even though they're not written, right? If we wrote it out horizontally, then we would need parentheses here to say that we're dividing that 2n plus 10 by 6. So when you see a fraction, imagine there are parentheses around the numerator and the denominator so that, to undo it, we wouldn't subtract 10 first because we have to get rid of that denominator, multiple. What are we doing? We're dividing by 6, undo that, multiply by 6. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Good question, though. Very good question. Those hidden parentheses, they can get you. Anything else with those first 4? Okay, the last two, the first one is very similar to the one we just did. We've got that fraction. We are going to multiply by 23 here to unfractionalize. Okay, and that leaves us with negative 8n minus 1 is less than or equal to 23. Again, similar step to get it to a two-step inequality here. Add 1 to both sides. Negative 8n is less than or equal to 24. Divide both sides by negative 8. And here's the one where, regardless of how you set it up, you're going to have to flip your sign. So n is greater than or equal to negative 3 because we are dividing by that negative 8, which is a closed circle going to the right. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Raise your hand if you did the last one. Okay. Most of you. Keep your hand if you got an all real solution for this one. Few of you. Yeah. It's tricky. So on the left side, we combine like terms, and we've got 7n plus 7 is greater than. On the right side, if we combine like terms in our parentheses, we also get 7n plus 7. If you looked at that, you say, oh, that's the same. Everything cancels out. What does that negative sign mean we got to do? Do you know? We got to distribute, right? It's that negative 1 as our coefficient that gets distributed into the parentheses. And what happens is that positive 7n plus 7 on the right side now becomes negative 7n minus 7. Multiplying each by negative 1 is essentially just going to cause the sign to change. And so when we look at the number of n's we have on the left and the number of n's we have on the right, is positive 7 the same number as negative 7? No. So this is not going to be one of those special situations because we do not have the same number of n's on both sides. Okay, it'll make our lives easier to add 7 to both sides, and I'm going to run out of room here. So on the right side, that cancels out. On the left side, I'll continue it just up above. 14n plus 7 is greater than negative 7. Two-step inequality, move our constant over to the right side by subtracting 7. So we get 14n is greater than negative 14. Divide by our coefficient. We get n is greater than negative 1. Okay. I mean, it's not too bad once you get over this mental hurdle of realizing that you don't have the same number of n's on both sides. After that, it's just distribution, variables on both sides, back to PO10. So take a look at especially the three that you did. If they didn't go well, try and identify what your mistake was. Was it with the algebra piece of it, like the back to the PO10 stuff? Because if it was, then that's where you should look. Or was it with the flipping of the sign? Was it with the graphing? Kind of where were those mistakes happening? If you're ever looking for extra practice, note that the practice work is in the back of your binder. At this point, it's not required that you do it because you haven't tested yet. But if you wanted more to practice, just say, okay, I got to make sure I have this down. There's no harm in working on that now. Okay. Or you can look at the top of your page, the front of the objective, where it's too far, where it has that text. Okay. CO15 comes from Chapter 6, Section 3 from your book. So there are two places that you can look for more practice if you would like, to the textbook itself or the practice work. Okay? All right. The word problems. Let's take a look at those. First one. The price of gas is $2.25 per gallon and a car wash is $7.50. A customer who purchases a car wash gets 10 cents off per gallon. Graph an inequality describing the number of gallons of gas a customer who also gets a car wash can purchase without spending more than $20. Second one, you are saving money for a summer camp that costs $1,800. You've saved $500 so far, and you have 14 more weeks to save the total amount. What is the least amount you can save each week and still reach your goal? We're going to pause the video, and I'm going to have you work with just the person sitting next to you at your table. See if you can crack both of these, and then we'll talk about them before we head out. So video is on hold. Play. Are we back? We're back, I think. How do I get rid of this? Uh-oh. Hold on. There we go. All right. So but in the interim, I don't think I turned my mic on. Okay, here we are. I'm just okay. So we talked about setting this up should be the cost of gas plus the car wash. What symbol did you determine should go in that blank space there? What does the phrase "without spending more than $20" mean? Less than or equal to. Okay. Now the important thing to note here is what happens when you purchase a car wash, right? A car wash is $7.50. Is that price change based on anything that we have here in the question? The price of that car wash? No. So that's going to be our constant, right? $7.50 for the car wash. What changes when you get the car wash is that you get 10 cents off per gallon. So if you're a customer who's getting a car wash, how much are you paying per gallon of gas? Caleb? $2.15 per gallon. That word per is important because what we talked about in the past, per is kind of coefficient variable relationship here, right? So you should have 2.15 G, or X or N or Y, but $2.50 per gallon plus the $7.50 for the car wash is going to be less than or equal to the $20 you've allotted yourself to spend. So this is the inequality that you're solving here. Without the car wash, it'd be 2.25 G is less than or equal to 20. But with that car wash, you've got that constant there, and it changes how much you're actually paying per gallon of gas. Now to solve this, subtract 750 from both sides. So we get 2.15 G is less than or equal to $12.50. And what's 1250 divided by 2.15? What did you come up with? William? 5.8. We'll just say 5.8. Now, in CO14, we ran into a few situations where a decimal answer didn't make any sense, right? With the ornaments and the number of songs. In this case, can you pump 0.8 gallons of gas? Yes. So you would not round to 6 here. Okay, you would not round down to 5. You'd keep it as 5.8 because in context, this answer still makes sense. So your graph, you can get 5.8 or less gallons of gas, get that car wash, and still spend no more than 20 bucks. Okay. The second one, you are saving money for a summer camp that costs $1,800. You've saved $500 so far, and you have 14 more weeks to save the total amount. What is the least amount you can save each week and still reach your goal? What inequality symbol did you use here for this? Joey? And what's our solution total? What goes on that solution side? Will? 1,800. What role does that $500 play? What role does that $500 play? Joey? Okay, and since it deals with addition and subtraction, is it the coefficient or the constant? Is that $500 going to change going forward, or is it kind of where we're starting with, said and done, right? We've already have that amount. That's going to be our constant. Okay. So what's our coefficient? Will? The 14. And if you want to use W for weeks or whatever you want to use, but basically how much money per week for 14 weeks, here's that word each week, each and per, each per every. We talked about those 3 words, all kind of mean the same thing. That's what's connecting your coefficient to the variable, okay? Each week for 14 weeks, how much money do we have to save plus the 500 we already have to get at least or greater than or equal to 1,800. Subtract 1,400 from both sides. We get 14W is greater than or equal to 1,300. That's how much we have left to save. Caleb?
$92.
Oh. Divide by 14, and we get $92 and what? 86 cents. Okay. What that means is that if you save exactly $92.86 each week for the next 14 weeks, you will have exactly $1,300 plus the $500 you already have. You'll get exactly $1,800. If you one week put away $100, that's good, right? It just means that you'll have to save less in a week after that. But the bare minimum, okay, each week, that's what you are looking to save. No homework for tomorrow. If you've got questions and you're unable to get the answer yourself, please send me an email and I'll help you out. That is how you math.